traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. We are about 5 minutes away from the jobs report, and you can see the stock market is firming up just a bit. Take a real quick look at the E-mini futures. You know, the E-mini futures, they're stronger than I thought they'd be. I thought we would come right back down to the mid-range that we talked about yesterday, right at this 1900, because, you know, we were here. This is a 15-minute chart. We were here yesterday. I thought we'd slip back down to mid-range. We did. Then I thought we'd bounce and just kind of bouncing around the 1900. But what we've done is we're actually slightly grinding back up towards those highs, towards that resistance. It's, you know, obviously you can see the market's expecting, I don't know what the market's expecting. I don't know if the market's expecting, it's a bullish number or a strong number, so the stock market's getting bid ahead of that, or is it more of a situation where the market expects, hey, we're going to get a weaker number. It's going to be good for stocks that we get a weaker number. I'm not really too sure. But the dollar yen is spiking up towards the resistance. It's at 120.35, which is, you know, just coinciding with the move higher in the E-mini futures. So we're seeing some positioning ahead of the jobs report. A couple people have pointed out gold. Yeah, gold is actually staging a bit of a rally here. Now that can change, obviously. You know, that's the thing about that's the thing about whatever you see right now, pre non-farm payroll, can change post non-farm payroll. So don't get too caught up in oh my God, we're seeing a rally here. You know, because obviously it can go completely the opposite direction following non-farm payroll. Yeah, that's why I'm limiting my dollar exposure. That's why I didn't want to be in the euro. I didn't want to be in the yen yesterday. I don't want to be any of the commodity currencies. I'm just, you know, I'm standing aside for this one. I'm actually aside from the dollar Swiss. You know, just trying to stand aside because I'm not sure how the market's going to react here. But there's gold. Let's take a look at, you know, there's the futures, there's the E-mini futures. Here's a 4-hour chart pushing up towards that resistance. Dow futures are probably looking pretty solid at the moment. Dow futures also making a bit of a move. See what bonds are doing. Here's the 10-year. Bonds are under a little bit of pressure as yields are going up, obviously. Currency market just real quiet. Kiwi and the Aussie are near break evens on the day. Dollar Canadian's obviously a little weaker. Cable's a little stronger. Dollar yen's firm with equities at the moment. Gold is trying to recover. It was down 8. Oh, look, new highs in the dollar yen. I mean, that's just traders going, oh, screw it. I don't want to be short the dollar yen going into a number. You know, that's all it is. Randall asked, what's the Canadian doing? It's just sitting there near its lows, actually. Very weak, the dollar Canadian is. Crude oil's quiet. Nothing happening in crude. Let's check something else really quick. Let's go over to the DAX. How's the DAX looking? Bouncing around as well. All right, guys, we're about 2 minutes away. I'm sure we'll hear Paul Franco here in just a second.
Yeah, I'm here, Blake.
Oh, hey, Paul. How's it going?
Good. You know, on the medium term bias pivot on the euro dollar, it's going to be 12.12 with the overall bias pivot at 12.83, which would turn it full on bullish. And on the downside, you know about that 10.85. So that's a pretty key area there at 10.85, which is actually at 50% of the overall move from 462 to 1703. That's 10.87. So we'll see how that all plays out.
All right. Hey, the market's looking for 200,000 jobs. We're looking at 5.1% unemployment rate, average hourly earnings for 0.2%. That's what the market's expecting. How much time we got, Paul? Dollar Canadian just hit
About
new lows.
35 seconds, 32 seconds.
Dollar Canadian just hit new lows following that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dollar
I was
Canadian's.
looking for a cyclical high on today or Monday, but I don't think that's going to happen now.
Dollar yen squeezed a little bit above 120.40 and then pulled back or to 120.40. It's just a little pre news
10
squeeze.
seconds. 10 seconds.
All right, folks, here we go.
One 142.
Wow, that is a weak number. Look at the dollar yen, and the euro is above 112. That's a horrible number. 112.30.
Average hourly earnings haven't come out. Don't forget, 1259, 1283 is the bias pivot that turns the euro up stronger. And I tell you what, with that number, people are going to be talking about the Fed should wait till March, and then that's going to allow the euro to get above 1283 and then challenge 1455. And I discussed that today.
Okay, so what did
I
the
haven't
average
seen
hourly
anything on
earnings
that.
come out?
It hasn't come out. I'm not seeing it. Let me go into the news portion of my thing. So, news delta. Let me see. Hang on one moment.
Man, that is a look at the dollar yen just getting clobbered right now. Average hourly earnings came in flat, Paul.
Yeah, I see that
Flat.
unchanged. That is horrible.
That is a
Um,
horrible number, people. Horrible number.
Factory jobs down 9,000. August down 18,000. So revised up to an extra 1,000 lower. This is very bullish.
Wow.
Other currencies, I mean non-dollar currencies. I told people, watch the euro dollar. Just 12.
Well, let's wait. Hold on. Let's see where the euro's at. Okay, because the euro
It's
obviously at 112.50. That's a 786 retracement. I don't know if I would chase it up here. It's probably. Oh wait,
No,
hold
I
on.
wouldn't. I think it's probably a fade against that 1283 initially, but it'll probably get, in all likelihood, the thought would be it would get above the 1283, but we're gonna have to, just like I told people, I go, you can fade if you're apt to scalp it. You can fade the initial move, but then the market, like in this case, people are saying I don't want to be short the euro, but I don't want to buy it at 1250, so they'll probably try and buy it back in the lower 1220s or 12 teens.
All right. Well, we have seen a pretty big move lower in the dollar. So the euro is facing some pretty key resistance here. I don't know if I'd want to fade that. You know what's interesting is the cable, the pound can't even get a bounce here. Look at the pound.
It has a little bit of a bounce, but you're right, not that much. No,
Yeah,
you can fade the euro dollar up to at 1283 and see if they back down from there. But I wouldn't fade it before 1283. You see what I'm saying? I would just wait. And they may not make it all the way to 1283. Maybe they run out of gas at 1278, 1275. You can fade it, and maybe you may be able to gather yourself about 35, 40 pips. But ultimately, it would appear that you would want to go higher. I would say you could fade it. I'm not going to fade it because, like I told you, I don't have internet. I'm actually using my iPad as a a hotspot, so I don't want to scalp with that kind of internet. But I think it's a good trade here to fade the euro dollar into the 1270s.
Okay, we have trendline resistance right here. Let's see if we can hold this 112.50. The cable is extremely weak. I can't believe how weak that is. The dollar Canadian fell. Kiwi ripped up. That is a weak number, guys. Obviously, I don't like how the dollar Swiss acted, but but the pound.
The scary thing is how they're going to perceive it. And I thought about this: is if the number comes in weak, then they're going to say, "Wow, if it's this weak in the U.S. and we already know how weak it is in our currencies, our countries, how worse can it get?" And then the euro could pull back. That's what I'm saying. I think it's a fade against 1283, and then you could try and buy it back for 35 or 40 pips, but you got to play it really cautious and see how they finish it. Because I still think the dollar could have, in a perverse way, some strength by the end of the day. I think it's a fade up here against the 1283 area because they're going to fade it against that. But like I said, I can't play today until I get my internet back on.
Look at the and by the way, guys, the look at the futures. We're down 150 points right now on the futures. Okay.
Suppose going back to that support 1893.
Yeah, and let's look at some of these yen pairs. Okay, so the euro yen obviously has spiked up. Okay, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's going to last. The pound yen's getting demolished here. We're closing in on that support. Let's take a look at the New Zealand yen. That one's probably, these yen pairs are going to get hurt, especially with futures going down. So this euro yen's probably not a bad short up here. Mm, yeah, I don't know. Man, look at the Kiwi new highs. Swissy's below 97 cents. Pound is really just underperforming right now. Wow, what a real and okay, so the euro, let's go back over to the euro dollar here. I'm thinking about selling some euro pretty soon.
Yeah, I just told people you could sell in the 1270s up to these upper 1270s, and just like I was saying, is they just stopped ahead of the 1283, and it looks like the high was.
Yeah,
I wish I could scalp it, but I just can't with this internet. The high was 1275, so they'll fade them against the
yeah, I
1283.
just sold some 68
Uh-huh.
at 112.68 and I don't even mind selling a little bit more up at 113 if I can get it. So I sold the 112.68 level. There's a ton of resistance up here, and like I said, even if we can make it back up to 113, I'll be a seller up there.
Well, I think that one thing that's working in your favor is I think that this kind of number scares people overall, and then like maybe I better just put my hands back in my pockets because if it's this bad here in the U.S., then that almost guarantees the ECB is going to add on to QE. So it's almost like they're going to fade the fade. You see what I'm saying? Like they're like, you know what? Maybe I better just go and step in and sell the euro up here. So I think the euro would have a hard time against this 1283. I mean, even if it can go higher, people are just going to be scared and say, you know what? That just guarantees additional QE from the ECB. Why the hell would I be buying the euro now? And so it might limit, in a perverse way, limit how far it can run up.
Yeah, man, this is man, what a weak. I mean, look at how weak the dollar is. Just so weak. Dollar yen's actually hitting new lows.
Yeah, but dollar yen's still trading in that 200 pip trading range. Has been trading in for 6 weeks. So
Yeah,
like
but
that's
we're
1904, but 1882 is really the key level to see if it does anything. And I would expect the dollar yen to be way lower. But once again, the perverse way, they're already expecting the BOJ to do additional QE. They're thinking, my God, if the U.S. is already showing this kind of weakness, then that guarantees additional QE for the ECB, guarantees additional QE for the BOJ. So here we are coming up at up to this 1280, but we just can't get above it. And I just think that chances are, I think it's going to have a very tough time here.
take a look at the Aussie yen. See how that's reacting.
I actually sold some right now here at the 1279. Just to, I mean, I'm not really scalping. I just think that it's going to have a hard time. If it wants to get beyond that, then that's fine too. If it wants to. Here's that 1283.
Yeah, it's the euro dollar still climbing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really too worried about it right now, but I'm not adding unless we get above 113 here. But man, this dollar is we look at the dollar yen just completely getting demolished. Swissy is too. And the dollar yen's in breakdown territory now. So
The key is going to be the 2 hour close at 1283 on the euro dollar, and I just think that it's going to have
here's
a
the
little
dollar
bit.
yen at support. Pound's finally getting a little bit of a lift.
And 1307 is that key area that would take out that prior high if we can come up to 1307. So this would be nice if.
Euro's above 113. cable new highs.
And 1324 is a 61%.
Hold on. That's a 261% extension.
Hey guys, S&P
That's
futures are
just,
hitting lows.
I just hit. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I sold a little bit more. I'm short at 112.80 in the euro. So I just added a little bit more.
I was going to say
Wow.
about 1307, but I was hoping they could spook the people up to 1324, and then I would add at that point. It's just a very small position that I put on, but that 1307 is good right there, but I was hoping they could scare some people into 1324. The 61% of 1105, the recent low to the recent swing high of 1459, which was set 2 Fridays ago.
We have a little distance to get to even the 618 of the fall from 114.
Will be 1324, and that's what I want to add.
Yeah.
And really, that's just on the idea that in a perverse way that by the end of the day, people are like, this is scary. You know what? This guarantees the ECB will do QE, and then it sends the euro down. I don't think it sends the euro down falling off a cliff, but it sends the euro back down. So I just want to be a little bit judicious. It's a little position because I know when they come to fix the internet, I'm not going to have no internet. And I don't want to be not knowing what the hell's going on.
So let's see if the euro can push back below 113. Wow, look at gold. Gold is flying. I mean, the dollar just got absolutely hammered. Wow.
Resistance in the gold would be that 1130, which is actually close to it. Looks like they came almost close to it, so that probably bodes a little well for the euro dollar here. But this 1307 is perfect because it took out the prior high. I was just trying to be a little bit greedy and see if I can't get 61%.
Yeah. Euro's pulling back a bit. The cable's still, the cable's holding up pretty well here. Wait, hold on really quick. Let me take a look at the euro pound.
Euro pound just got to resistance of 74.28.
Yeah, I'm considering shorting actually the euro pound, but I don't know. I think I'm going to stay away from it. I'm just going to watch this euro here.
If anybody wants to scalp it, you can cover the euro at around your initial. If you got short from up there around the 13 area, you can cover at around 1268. If you're scalping, you want to take part of your position off. You know, if you got lucky, and I don't want to say lucky, but if you executed your orders above 113, that 1268 would be kind of nice because you may get another bounce and you could sell them again. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. For those of you guys that are trading the commodity currencies, I just noticed that the Kiwi dollar ran up to 64.50 again, spiked up to resistance basically, struggling up there. Just in case you guys are watching it, I'm really, my focus is on the euro right now, but just in case. I mean, look at that move, Paul, from 111.50 to 113.60. I mean,
that's an excellent point that you make because that's a 150 pip move. That's really overdone in the sense that you have to think, even if you're bullish and you go, I don't care, this year is going to 115, you're not going to buy it here. And that's what I argued presented in the prior webinar in the European market, European crossover. I said, you can, if you're out, you're saying, hell, I don't care, I'm going to fade. You can fade on the initial move because anybody, I'm talking about in this case the euro, anybody wants to be long the euro, they're going to be buying the euro, and anyone that's short is going to be stuck, but they're going to be buying the euro and they're going to be waiting for moves back down towards 1230. You see what I'm saying overall? So we'll have to see what it does here, but like I said, if they can make it up that 1324 in a spook, I'll add my short right there, and then we'll see what they want to do. But this basically, I think the Fed, in retrospect, when people look later today or analysis over the weekend, they're going to be saying this guarantees that the BOJ will be doing quantitative easing, and it guarantees the ECB will be doing quantitative easing, and that's going to slow down the euro's rise. Because really the euro should be a whole lot stronger in light of this number, because it implies that the Fed can't raise rates supposedly till March. Well, if that's the case, then the euro should already be much higher. The euro should be like at about 13.35, and that's what I'm saying. I think that the read on this is going to be this. Well, if it's showing weakness in the U.S., then it guarantees they'll do action in the ECB. It guarantees we'll see QE later this month for the BOJ, and they've already hinted at that. And so I think this euro could be, I wouldn't say it'd be a dud, but it could end up pulling back, and then we finish like around 12.12, and the bulls don't know what to do with it, the bears don't know what to do with it, but we make a move down to the 12s, like back to the 12.12.
Keep your eye on these yen pairs with equities on their lows. This Aussie yen looks like it's going to roll over pretty good. Now remember, they're gonna keep this up with the S&P, and if they do, let's see what the Canadian yen's doing. God, the Canadian yen came off really hard as well. Swiss yen's bouncing right into probably some resistance here. Euro yen went right into the 786. Pound yen, 180 is really major support, but you know, if we break through this 181, this is going to open up a whole. I mean, this is a major breakdown. It would be a major breakdown in the pound yen if that happens. The euro is holding on to 113 pretty well.
Because I think that the S&Ps are lower. Remember, they've been playing that game. S&Ps move lower, euro moves higher. But I think that nobody knows what to do right now. And I think if the S&Ps start coming back with the idea, like you said, maybe that means that the Fed can't raise rates, and then they're not apt to push it too much lower, then the euro may run out of gas up here. So I think it's just, you can see how far we can squeeze them, but I'd be hard bent.
I'd say 113, 113 and a quarter is going to be that.
Exactly.
Is that resistance? But what I would be watching here, guys, are the yen pairs. The dollar yen just broke through 119. That's a big deal because it's pulling down the pound yen. And see if the rest of the yen pairs come down, like you get a yen cross rate effect, if you will. Euros at the 113 or just hit new highs. Dollar yen's below 119, or was that right at 119?
But that key area is 1885. So we still haven't really broken out of anything on the dollar yen per se, to the point that it's thrown us in a different direction. So I'm hoping that in a way the euro can make it up to 13 and a quarter. I'll short it right there. That's 61%. And then I just think it's going to have to do more work and have to come back down. How much? I don't know if it'll come back down. I mean, it'll eventually come back down. We'll just have to see, how it reacts. But I think a lot of it will have to do with the SPOOs. And it really doesn't look that favorable for euro that it wasn't able to spike up into the 20s. All we were able to do was take out the high for a few pips, and people are leaning right back down on it. I think everybody's looking at each other. The euro's looking at the SPOOs. The SPOOs are, well, they're kind of doing their own thing, and everybody does it. Same thing with the dollar yen. It hasn't. If it breaks below 1885, then you're talking. But I just don't see it. So it's like the dollar yen's not buying this big move down, and I think it's going to light up the old QE argument with a lot of people, and definitely secure QE for the ECB and the BOJ. I think that's going to be the talk. And I think that's what people always say, it's all about the technicals, but the technicals really are just a follow through of really what happens, what people perceive of what they're going to go and do. I mean, you can look and see what the prices are now, and we look at areas that they're going to come back. But the narrative is what drives the market, especially with the currency markets, because they're so huge.
What's the E-mini futures? Sorry, Paul. Just
Yeah,
keeping an eye on the markets here. I hear you, but I'm not hearing you.
yeah. Well, we're here at that support, and
I mean, we've come off on the S&P futures. We've come off from 1930. I mean, we've come off about 35 points, so about 1.5%. Really not worried about the euro here. What I'm more focused on at the moment is I'm focused on these yen pairs, especially if the pound yen gets below 181. Kiwi dollar is really struggling, and same with the Aussie. The Aussie, we ran up to 70.60. The highs from yesterday were 70.80, I believe, or right around there. We're failing to take out those highs. These commodity currencies are pretty weak. The dollar Canadian hit new lows, but it just hit. Let's go over to the dollar Canadian. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, okay, pound Canadian's right at support. Let's go over to the U.S. dollar Canadian, because the U.S. dollar Canadian just hit the 618 retracement just now of the most recent move. I might actually pick up the dollar Canadian here at 131.90. I'll pick up some here. That 618 horizontal support all comes in right around here. We spiked down to 131.84. So I picked up a little piece of the Canadian. We get back above 132. I'll probably add, because as this market becomes risk averse, one of the things that they're going to look to sell is they're going to look to sell the Canadian currency and any commodity currency too. So, you know, you get the Canadian yen goes down, the Aussie yen goes down, the New Zealand yen goes down. That weighs on the Canadian currency. Same thing with the euro yen. If the euro yen starts to really pull lower, it'll pull the euro dollar lower with it. And same with the pound yen. These yen pairs are going to have a very big impact if they start to break down. See if the dollar Canadian can get above 132. I gotta go take a look at the Swissy really quick. This thing got hit really hard. Swissy came right down to support as well. Just hold on. Right to the 618. I gotta keep an eye on that Swissy. Kiwi is the Kiwi's weak, the Aussie's weak. Very, look at the Kiwi. Look at the reversal here. Massive reversal in the Kiwi. It's risk aversion. You know, the Kiwi spiked up originally, and you know, and the market's saying, "Hey, wait, what am I doing? Buying a commodity currency with the market, you know, basically in free fall." Euro's starting to come back down. The dollar Canadian's above 132. I should be long more, but I'm not. I own it. I feel good about the dollar Canadian now. Euro dollar's coming down. Look at the Kiwi really come under pressure here. I'm out the dollar Canadian for 27.
That was a great call, Blake.
Thanks. Well, it's just helping compensate some of this euro.
That was good
Uh,
support, but the thing is, you did it. You pulled the trigger right there. I mean, you do that all the time. I'm just saying is that was it quickly responded because it was just sitting there for a while. Now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just decides to scoot up fast.
Again, I think it's the market it's seeing a little bit of risk aversion. I want to see if this Kiwi continues to roll over. The Aussie looks really heavy. The Aussie's back to negative on the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, see what futures are doing here. Well, 1890 is going to be. This is the for the futures, just because I'm kind of understanding where we're at right at this moment. This is the 618 that we had from yesterday. Okay, so we had this. We were looking at. Okay, we overextended ourselves yesterday. We hit the 618 or came really close. Now here we are at 1890 again. If 1890 breaks in the S&P, be very, very careful with anything yen related, anything commodity currency related, and then you got to be careful with the dollar too, because the dollar could obviously start to catch a bid too, especially if the yen pairs move. Because in order for the yen pairs to move, like let's say the euro yen or the pound yen, what has to happen is you have to have both yen and dollar strength at the same time to really get the yen pairs to move. But if the market is risk averse, then the yen pairs may, I mean, if the stock market breaks down, the yen pairs will start moving. They did it, 5 weeks ago when the market was under extreme pressure. We had those yen pairs move pretty aggressively. So Euro's still holding up around the 113. Where did you sell that, Paul?
79. And I
Yeah,
was going to add it 1324, but I was just trying to be gingerly about it. I
yeah.
think 1307 was fantastic, but I thought I'm going to try and stretch it a little bit. And now the Euro Aussie is still holding up relatively well, but the Aussie dollar is still relatively weak. So I'm trying to see if there might be a little bit of divergence between Euro Aussie and Euro Yen, and that would give a little inclination how the Euro versus the dollar would hold
I
up.
bought the
But right
Canadian.
now,
I bought the Canadian again at 02. So I just bought it just as a dip down here.
if you're
Um,
scalping, you can pick it up at 31.97. If someone's trying to scalp and trying to grab a little bit even better price, if we can get that dip down to 31.97. But that was a good fill there, that 32.02.
yeah, I mean, I literally just bought it right here. Because this market, it's not the risk aversion is not letting up. Come on, Euro, back down. I'm short at
I
80
think
as well. So.
the euro is more about, and I see people now on the stream starting talking about that. It's more about the QE, additional QE is almost guaranteed now, and that's what I'm saying. If things are this bad in the states, oh my God, we bet then QE, additional QE is coming for sure, and that's how the euro's playing it. And that's what I'm saying. It's a perverse kind of thing where the euro's not going to be able to hold these gains. I don't believe.
The again, I'm going to talk about what I said earlier this morning. Think Fed's looking at broad brushstrokes. The jobs number is not the number that really worries me so much. Like we created 140 whatever thousand jobs. That's not the number that really worries me. It's the average hourly earnings that's I think the bigger concern at the moment. I think that's probably what the Fed's going. Oh geez.
I don't think the Spoos are going to make any real significant moves from here. I think they've already seen everything about as bad as it can get, and maybe start to spin it from the positive side, saying, you know what, we're not going to get any QE. And you know what, and in a weird way, maybe the Fed was right. So, we're not going to get any. We're not. I mean, they're not going to raise rates. So, they're thinking this is about as bad as it gets. I don't think we're going to take off, but I could see us make a run up there above the 19 and probably run out of gas around 19.10. But I don't think it gets any worse from here, which is going to be bearish for the euro dollar from an intraday standpoint. If you're trying to scalp it here.
So
I don't think
you don't think equities can go down further from here?
not from here. No. I think that we're going to hold here, and I think we'll make a move to 19.10 towards that, and that's going to push the euro dollar even lower. And it's going to be viewing it as like, you know what, we're not getting any interest rate hike, and now the market's now priced an interest rate hike not till March. So we already had everything as bad as it was on all that China stuff. So I think this S&P's hold here, and that's just going to work against the euro, and the euro is going to be with that same old thing that almost assures additional QE.
All right. Well, Paul, thanks for hanging out with me for the last half an hour, and thanks everybody here for hanging out. I'm gonna hang on to this euro short for a bit. I'm gonna try to scalp out of it around 112.50. The dollar Canadian, I'll probably try to scalp out of it here in the next 20 or 30 pips. Depends on how the equity markets are still trading pretty heavy, so it depends on what the equity markets do is going to help me make a decision here. I think Kip's probably here.
Yes.
And hey, Kip, how you doing this morning?
Good. Just what a morning. Wow.
Yeah, that was a real nasty employment number. No, and like I said, I was telling Paul, it wasn't. It's not the employment number is so bad, and unemployment rate's fine. It's the average hourly earnings, that just lack of inflation, the deflationary pressures that we're really trying to avoid. It's going to be very hard for us to avoid all this deflationary headwinds when you have your incomes just aren't rising. So
Right.
that's I think the overarching theme and the bigger issue at the moment. So
Yeah.
anyway, well, thanks everybody for being here. Kip, it's all yours. I'll see you guys in 3 hours on the lunch money webinar.
All right. Thank you, Blake. Have a good one.
Thanks, Kip. Thanks, Paul, for being here.
Yeah. Thanks, Polly.